The white blood cells form the body's defense against pathogens. Remember, pathogens are microorganisms which cause disease. They include things like bacteria, fungi, protists, and viruses. So there are two white blood cells. The first type is the phagocyte, the second type is the lymphocyte. Phagocytes have a characteristic lobe nucleus. Phagocytes carry out phagocytosis. What this means is that they engulf the pathogen. They do this through that lobe nucleus. It means that they can engulf that pathogen into their cytoplasm, whereupon digestive enzymes are released to destroy the pathogen. The lymphocytes, these have a large single lobe nucleus. This is because they don't engulf pathogens. Instead, they recognize small proteins on the pathogen surface known as antigens. The lymphocytes secrete small proteins known as antibodies which bind to the antigen. Now, the lymphocytes, when they secrete these antibodies, first of all, the antibodies can help kill the pathogen, the bacteria. How do they do that? They can help cause the bacterial cells to clump together, making them more likely to be spotted by phagocytes so that they can then be engulfed. They also produce antitoxins which counteract any toxins produced by the pathogen. And another method by which they may destroy the pathogen is by causing them to burst open. What about those small fragments of cells known as platelets? So to simplify their role, we would say that platelets clot the blood at the site of a wound. So as soon as you cut yourself, you don't bleed indefinitely. And the reason for that is because your platelets create a scab at the site of a wound. But the process is slightly more complicated than that. So what happens when you have a wound is that the platelets accumulate at the site of a wound. The enzyme thrombokinase is released from the platelets. This enzyme causes the conversion of prothrombin to thrombin, which in turn causes the conversion of soluble fibrinogen into the insoluble version, fibrin. Fibrin is the substrate for the enzyme factor 13. The fibrin meshwork formed traps red blood cells, meaning that a scab is formed. And the real importance of all of this is to ensure that you don't have excess blood loss and that pathogen entry is prevented. If you're doing human biology, it is important that you're aware of the role of thrombokinase, prothrombin and thrombin, as well as fibrinogen and fibrin. Some people have a lack of thrombin, and this really affects their ability to carry out blood clotting in the following way. Lack of thrombin means that fibrinogen is no longer converted to fibrin. There's no longer any substrate for that enzyme, and the fibrin can no longer form a meshwork to trap the red blood cells needed to form a clot.